than 65 years old. And for all the common types of cancer, breast, colon, prostate, urinary bladder, whatever the stage, the older people match the younger people. The 5-year survival rate is the same as younger people. How amazing is that? It's really transformed. So these immune checkpoint inhibitors are being made as we speak. There has been so much progress, I can't keep up with it. So all this, advances in treatment, must make you think. Thank you, Dr. Shetty. You've been wonderful for bringing all these wonderful treatments to our islands. I'm going to go home, have my feet up, order a pizza, have a couple of beers, smoke a couple of cigars, enjoy my life. And you pick up the local paper, and this is the headline that's staring at you. Heart attacks, the very things that I spoke about, heart attacks, strokes, and cancer are still the leading cause of death on our islands. It's not as rosy as it seems. So once you start looking at closer, once you start a closer look, things start to unravel. So with heart attacks, the data that I presented so far is for all age groups. But once we start breaking down into age groups, so you can see with the heart attack survival, beyond the age of 75 and 85, the curve starts dipping. It's the same for recurrent heart attacks. Again, when compared to younger patients, you can see older patients, the curves are dipping down. So we do not do so well as we get older, despite having the best treatment. And that's the same with the stroke. So in stroke, you can see the survival, all patients, but once you start looking at over 75 years, our survival rates, unfortunately, start dipping. So why is this the case? So unfortunately, when we have a heart attack, we don't just come as a heart attack when we get older. We come as a complex heart attack. We get admitted as heart attack with heart failure. And if you have severe heart failure, we can't do all the angioplasty. We have to wait for the heart failure to get better. And the longer we delay this angioplasty, the poorer the outcome. And these graphs will show you that a lot more patients who are more than 90 years are admitted with heart failure when they have a heart attack. And in those patients, even in those patients where the heart failure is not so severe, we do an angioplasty, their outcomes are much worse compared to people who haven't had a heart attack. We tend to stay longer in the hospital. We have more complexity once we have heart failure. So unfortunately, as we get older, our heart fails when we have a heart attack, and that makes it complex. The other reason is we have a lot of baggage that we carry when we come into the hospital. We have multiple medical
Good afternoon and welcome to CIGTV News. It is Wednesday, the 30th of April, and it is election day. Everyone is out and about at the polls, and we have the information that you need to know. And we've got the man to tell us more about it with us in the studio. We're going to be speaking with a few different people today. We are going to have the election supervisor, Mr. Wesley Howell, speaking with us in just a few minutes. In addition to that, we have got Her Excellency the Governor, Ms. Jane Owen, joining us as well. In addition to the Deputy Governor, the Honorable Franz Manderson. Remember, it's only right here that you get the most accurate government news. Right now, we are going to tune in. Mr. Howell, thank you so much for joining us. We've been waiting for this day. How are you feeling today, given that it has finally come?
You know, there's a sense of relief. We've been training for quite some time.
I can imagine.
Our countdown started at 100 days, and when we did our briefing yesterday, we were at 17 hours. So it's fantastic that we're out. The public turnout has been amazing. We have had almost 50% of turnout at lunchtime.
At lunchtime, so it's a little after 12, we have more than 50%.
Just about 50.
Just about 50% of the island has come out. Wow.
Yeah.
How is that lining up with your expectations of how today would go?
Based on what we saw during mobile and postal voting, which was almost double what we saw in 2021, we expected that we would have higher turnout numbers, and we hope that continues through to closing. We still got just less than 6 hours to go.
Speaking of mobile voting and mail-in voting, did you see an increase in registration? Was there a sharp increase in registration this year, such that you could expect the kinds of numbers that we're seeing this year?
Almost double.
Wow.
We are actually tracking the BA flight come in, and we have a few ballots that are coming in on that flight. We've arranged to grab them as it lands at 4 o'clock and dash them off to returning officers so that they can be counted in today's count. So that's on board. Our stakeholders have been fantastic. Cayman Airways flew over from Little Cayman with a few voters who were not able to vote while we were there last Thursday. They held the plane for an hour on the ground. We picked them up at the airport, took them to the polling station, and they got back and caught their flight back to Little Cayman. So it's just been fantastic. Little moments of magic like that are making it an extra special, that we go on that extra mile to make sure people can vote.
I mean, there's such a level of integrity with that, right? We're not saying, oh, okay, you shouldn't just give me your vote, I'll put it in for you. We're saying, no, you have to get on that plane, get to a ballot location, and that is when you get to put in your vote. Speaking of the difference in the growth in the number between 2021 and now, are there other differences that you're seeing between then? Of course, that was immediately post-COVID, or I should say the height of COVID, but we were still locked down, and so things were different. What other differences do we have this year versus then?
This year it's very different in that we're doing a combined ballot with the referendum questions and the candidates on the same ballot paper. So we've been doing a lot more voter education around that. And I can say I've seen people come in to the office and pick up their postal ballots, and they mark it in a little booth we have there. And the only question I had to ask for and answer for anyone was, what was the difference between decriminalization and legalization? So, people know what they want to do when they get their ballot. Yeah.
You know what, that's an excellent question that people have been asking you. Since you've had it on repeat telling people, would you like to tell everyone right now, just remind everyone the difference between decriminalization and legalization?
So decriminalization, my cheat sheet is it's still an offense, but you don't get a conviction. Legalization is no longer an offense. While I have the mic, I'd like to say, folks, you can go in and vote for a candidate, or you can vote for referendum questions, or all of the above. So you can vote for a candidate in all 3 referendum questions. Not voting for a candidate or not voting for a referendum will not spoil your ballot. You can still vote for just one question or all the questions. So just want to ensure people are aware that is still possible. Yeah.
That's great. So folks know that if you're not quite sure what you want to vote on the referendum, hopefully you've tuned in and you've found out what the referendum is about. But if they haven't and they don't feel confident as yet, you can still vote for your candidate and vice versa. So you can be sure to go out. What other differences are you seeing? Are there any other major differences? And are there things that you want voters to remember as they go in today, in addition to what you've just stated?
Bring your official ID if you have it. If you don't have ID, we have some means of identifying you. The registering officers are actually in office and are taking calls. They're identifying people by date of birth and parents' date of birth and those things. So we want to make sure that everybody that has the right to vote has an ability to exercise that right. The other thing is leave your cell phones in the car. We're having some delays checking in and handing out cell phones, but that's part of it. And make sure you get your voted sticker. So I've seen a few of them on social media. Folks are liking the design, and we're happy about that.
It's an excellent design. I loved sporting mine. And of course, there are accommodations that have been made for people who might need greater accessibility.
Yeah.
Can you speak to some of that?
So older persons, pregnant ladies, persons with disabilities, or folks who have been sensitized to the hidden disabilities, sunflower lanyards and badges. So if they see you in line, they'll bring you here, they'll explain to everybody else what they're doing, but we'll give you some expedited service so that you can get in and out of there quickly.
Amazing. Remember your IDs. We are hearing from you first. Thank you so much for stopping in to speak with us. We're so glad to be able to hear that the numbers are increasing and that people are indeed doing their civic duty. Mr. Wesley Howell, Supervisor of Elections. We have got more headlines coming to you in just a few seconds. I am going to be speaking with Her Excellency, the Governor, Miss Jane Owen, about what we are seeing in the polling stations, about the UK's perspective on what we are doing today, and of course, how she feels about this year's 2025 general elections. So, Mrs. Jane Owen, Her Excellency, the Governor, Your Excellency, I should say, how are you doing today? How are you feeling today on this election day?
Well, good afternoon. I think I'm feeling very good and probably slightly less tired than some of the polling staff who I've already met going around in Grand Cayman this morning, who I know some of them have been up since 3:30, 4:30 this morning.
Bless them.
Picking up empty boxes and so forth. So it's been really encouraging, and it's very inspiring of a great confidence in Cayman's electoral process to see it all in action today.
And so this is going to be your first election as governor in Cayman. What are some of the observations that you are making, and how do you feel about them? Are you confident about the process that you're witnessing?
Yes, I feel very confident. I think we have a really excellent supervisor of elections in Mr. Wesley Howell, who we've all just been speaking to, and his deputies, Ms. Sheena and Ms. Shivala in Little and Brack. We've got about 300, more than 300 polling staff, I think. And I have been quite involved over the last week, just going around and observing some of the training they've been doing. I've had that opportunity to have a kind of bird's eye view of it, and it's very encouraging to see how professional it is. So going around this morning and seeing it all in action, everybody knows what they're doing. They're checking the ID, they're checking the names off the lists. Everyone's having to hand in their mobile phones. People are finding ways to accommodate children, dogs, and also people who have special needs as they go into the polling booth. It's been very, very impressive. And we're always stressing the fact that our elections are free and fair, great confidentiality, and you really see that when you can witness the polling booths and how separate they are from everything else. So I do feel very confident that it's going to be a great election.
I think that is wonderful to hear. There are many who I think don't quite understand or may not be aware of the role that the governor plays within the elections. Can you speak a little bit about your role and the weight of your involvement in the 2025 general elections?
Yes, thank you. I guess my role is kind of from a sort of 30,000-foot perspective, really. I don't get involved with the day-to-day planning. That is all down to our supervisor, Wes. My role is really to ensure that I feel confident and that we all in Cayman feel confident that the elections are being held in a free and fair and very transparent way, which I do feel very, very secure about. We've also been ensuring that during this period of election sensitivity, which has really been running since the start of March, for the civil service, that is being properly observed, and also really thinking about how we prepare the civil service for supporting what will be our incoming government, which is something that I'm sure our Deputy Governor will want to talk about. I've also been making sure we've got the election observers. So we have a group of international observers who've come from the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. We've actually got a lady, Miss Willits, who's come from Turks and Caicos Islands, who's been supporting the whole process, which is very nice. And we have some domestic observers, which are really bringing that local knowledge, very ably led by Miss Deborah Ebanks. So I feel feel that we've got some very professional people observing the process as well.
That's wonderful. Can you speak a little bit to the role of the UK? I'm grateful to you for describing kind of the continuity process that will happen post-election, and we'll have the Honourable Deputy Governor come in and speak a little bit more about that in just a few moments. But can you speak a little bit about the role of the UK, given that we are an overseas territory? However, we've got our own government that, through the Parliament, helps and pushes forward our laws. Can you speak about that perspective and how you play that mediating role?
Yeah, so I guess one of the important moments after the election will be waiting to see which party and party leader, or indeed which individual or group comes forward to say that they have a majority to form the government. And as you know, we have 19 elected representatives, and we will know who they are later on this evening, hopefully. And that means that we need 10 people to come together as a group in order to form a majority government. So that will be what I'm waiting for, will be to see who comes knocking on my door over the coming days to say they're ready to do that. I will then need to check that we do have the requisite signatures in place so that we've clearly got at least 10 people in that group, and I would then make a proclamation which would lead to the first meeting of Parliament. So that process is all very important. All of this is being looked at very closely, of course, from the United Kingdom, because Cayman, as an overseas territory, is actually a very powerful economic force in the world. It's a very important partnership for the United Kingdom. So our ministers in the UK, our Foreign Minister David Lammy, our Minister for Overseas Territories, Mr. Doughty, they will be looking forward to having an early conversation with whoever is the next Premier, and they will be looking to discuss how we continue to develop our partnership with the new government. So it's a really important moment.
That's really quite a process. I think that there are more steps in that than we may have initially understood. The timeline between the point of getting all of those ballots counted that's going to happen at the end of tonight. They will begin counting up. We will have an idea of who those elected representatives are. The timeline between that and actually you're giving that sign off to the new administration. What are we looking at in terms of the timeline? Will you be giving a call tonight to the 19 persons who are elected from each district, or will you, once that party has been formed, take about another week or so before the handover officially happens?
Well, really, this timing is not in my hands. This timing is within the democratic processes within Cayman. So what will happen is I will wait to see who is the group, which is the group that comes forward to say, okay, we now have 10 signatures. We are agreed that we intend to form the next government. And, provided somebody clearly comes forward and says, I'm going to be the Premier, this is my list, then that would be the moment at which I would say, okay, I'm going to make a proclamation. So it's very difficult to tell, actually, isn't it, whether that will happen extremely quickly or whether it will take a few more days. But whichever way it goes, I'm very confident that we will get to a good, solid, strong place within the next few days.
And finally, we do have these overseas observers that you mentioned. Will you be awaiting their report? Are you going to get, a head view of that before the May 2nd date when they reveal their findings to us? How are you going to interact with them?
Yes, I don't think I'm going to interact very much with them before Friday, actually. So they will be giving an interim press conference, won't they, on Friday at 10 o'clock in the morning, I think. And then we will wait a couple of months for their full report. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing what they have to say on Friday. And that will be another very important confirmation and affirmation of Cayman's electoral processes.
Your Excellency, thank you so much, Mrs. Jane Owen, for joining us on CIGTV News today to discuss the 2025 general elections. We have got more CIGTV News coming up for you. In just a few moments, we are going to hear from our very own Deputy Governor, the Honorable Mr. Frans Manderson, who is now joining us. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Manderson. How are you doing today?
I am wonderful. Thank you very much for having us.
It is always lovely to see you. Your energy just always lights up a room. I don't know if you get told that every day.
I try very hard, yes.
Thank you so much for joining us. So we've got an entire civil service of folks who are thinking about, what the 2025 general elections will mean for their roles. There are some folks who will be joining government for the first year. This may be their first election. There's a variety of different people in different roles. So I would love it if you could speak to that. But before we get to that, have you toured the polling stations?
Yes, I have. I've been with Her Excellency the Governor from early this morning, and it has been exactly what Mr. Howell said it would be, our professional operation. Amazing things happen when the civil service, the public service, the private sector get together and work for one common purpose, and we're seeing that today. It was a proud moment for me as a Caymanian to visit the polling stations, to see so many Caymanians coming out and exercising their democratic right, but also to see the energy and the smiles and the passion of the staff that really make us all very proud of the way in which we conduct our elections. So I got out and I voted very early, and it was done very efficiently. And as we moved throughout the island, that's what we have seen. A really high level of performance.
That's wonderful to see. And this, I believe, is the fourth year that we are going to have had the observers joining us to oversee us. And they spoke at their first press briefing also about how professional the local government has been, and local poll station operators have been as well. So I'm sure that's a part of your role, having been Deputy Governor, in terms of bringing them in as well.
Absolutely. We believe in our vision of being a world-class civil service, and I think we're seeing that happen at the moment. So we've set the standard high, but Mr. Howell and his team has always delivered, and the entire country is rallying around the office today and doing their part.
Yes.
Coming out, voting, doing it the correct way, bringing their ideas, doing everything. We've had some issues, and we will always have some issues. But for the most part, this is Cayman at its best.
I love that. And speaking of that world-class civil service, the civil service, some folks, I'm sure, this is their first election.
Yes.
They might be feeling a sense of unease, not knowing what it will mean if they do not have the same minister by day after tomorrow, or a same elected minister by day after tomorrow, prior to the transfer of power. Can you speak a little to what you would like to see in the civil service over the next, I'll just say, month?
Okay. Yes, so we have been planning for this. We had a meeting about a week ago with our HR teams to brief them on what they can expect in terms of any transition of staff. And we focus on communication. So that is the very first thing, is that we have to communicate very effectively with the staff to let people know as soon as we know any changes that are going to be made. So that's number one, and to make sure that we are treating everyone fairly. People build relationships. People, I love this subject, but, next week you may be working somewhere else. So we also tell our civil servants that they must be nimble and they must be willing to move to wherever the people of the Cayman Islands need them to work.
Okay.
And that's the focus. While we will exercise our vote today as civil servants, when the people of the Cayman Islands have made their decision, a government has been formed, then that is our government. And while we may have developed relationships in the past, we are now obligated to serve the government of the day. The people have spoken.
Absolutely.
To serve the government of the day with professionalism, with integrity and passion.
That is a part of the democratic process. It is honoring the decision and the integrity with which we made those decisions.
That's correct.
Before that new government of the day comes in, there will be a time period where we will not necessarily know if you will have the same minister, or if that minister will change, even if your current minister is reelected,
Yes.
right? In the next few days, what would you like civil servants to have in mind as they are doing their work? Should they stop working and just say, okay, well, I'm ready to support the next government as they come in, but since I don't have a minister right now, I don't want to get in trouble?
Yes. So under our Constitution, the existing government remains in power until a new government is formed. And the civil service should continue our business as usual. We should not be starting new things. The governor spoke about a period of election sensitivity. We're in the height of that at the moment. So we should not be doing anything new or making any large expenditures, but we should be carrying out our normal activities. So that's what we should be doing as a civil service. And I must say, over this last 2 months, the civil service has made me proud in terms of how we have conducted ourselves during the period of election sensitivity. We have done it very well. And I think our civil servants have got out, they've been informed, and they're making their decision today.
Honorable Franz Manderson, Deputy Governor, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for giving these words of confidence, really, for the civil service to have that direction over the next week and into the next month. Stick around with us in the next few minutes. We will be checking in Cayman Brac, where voting has been underway. Jevi Ebanks is in Cayman Brac, and he is going to tell us what's been going on the ground in the Brac. They've had both mobile voting and are going into those stations. So in the next few moments, we are going to be speaking with Jevi Ebanks. Keep it locked right here to CIGTV. I think we are ready for him now. Oh, yes, that is right. We're ready for him now. We're now going to hit it over. Jevi, it's over to you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm here on location in Cayman Brac with Ms. Shavella Burke, who's the Deputy Supervisor Elections, to speak how the voting has gone thus far. Ms. Burke, thank you so much for joining. Tell me a little bit about the voter turnout that we've had so far for the day here in Cayman Brac.
Sure. We've had just over 100 persons so far turn out to the polls here in Cayman Brac East, and very similar numbers in Cayman Brac West and Little Cayman as well.
Okay, and you mentioned Little Cayman. Little Cayman is voting here, or sorry, I should say at the West End Primary School. Do you have any updated numbers for there?
We do have two options for persons in Little Cayman. They can take the mobile voting option when the team, one of the Cayman Brac West and Little Cayman mobile team will go over. We do have a specific date, which was on the 24th of April. The team went over and they polled over 20 individuals there in Little Cayman. And then we now also have some postal options of those persons that were going to be off island as well. But if persons chose not to apply for mobile or postal and they were going to be within the Cayman Islands during the 30th of April, they also had the options, if they wanted, to fly over on their own and do a vote. Some persons will take advantage of that and spend the day, but most of them would go the mobile option.
Can you share any key observations about this year's election, probably compared to elections in the past?
I do see a lot of persons asking a lot more questions and trying to get involved, so that's probably some of the bigger key observations we've seen this year.
And are there any reminders that you'd like to get out to the public?
Just a reminder that our polls will close at 6 o'clock. Reminder that you're not to bring your cell phones, you're not to bring smartwatches, earbuds, any of those external devices that could be confused for any sort of communication while you're in the polling stations. We also encourage you to bring some form of identification, whether it is your passport, your voter's ID, your driver's license, if you're not known to the individuals within the polling station, as far as our field officers who would start first, which is where you would check in and then move on into the polling station itself.
Thank you. And is there anything else about the election or the process that I didn't ask you but you do wish to say?
No, everything's going really well here in both Sister Islands so far, so we're pleased with how things are operating.
Thank you so much, Ms. Burke.
Thank
That is the update from us here in Cayman Brac. We'll have another update around 6:45, but reporting for CIGTV News in Cayman Brac, I'm Jeffy Ebanks.
Thanks so much, Jevy. We are so pleased to hear how well things are going in Cayman Brac. Thank you again for that. And of course, we do want to say thanks to our guests this afternoon. We had Mr. Wesley Howell, the Supervisor of the Elections. He is going to be with us as well, again at 6:45 p.m. this evening. So make sure you tune back in to get more accurate updates, the most accurate updates on the 2025 election and all government news. Thanks as well to Her Excellency, the Governor, Ms. Jane Owen, for joining us, and the Deputy Governor, the Honorable Franz Manderson. Again, we have got Ms. Takia Smith joining us at 6:45 this evening for more live election updates. It's the 2025 general elections and referendum here on CIGTV.
9:30 p.m. on both our CIGTV cable channel and our YouTube channel, or receive alerts throughout the day from the CIG WhatsApp channel. Look out for our official brand marks, including our websites, gov.ky and elections.ky. This election day, turn to the official source, the Cayman Islands government.
The polls will open from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Wednesday, 30th of April. Here is a reminder of some rules for voting in this year's general elections. Remember to bring a valid photo ID. It could be your voter ID card or another form of photo ID. To vote for the candidate of your choice, simply mark an X next to their name. Remember, you can only vote for one candidate. If you vote for more than one candidate, your ballot will be rejected. For the referendum questions, place one clear X to vote yes or no for each question. Fold your ballot properly and submit the ballot, as you cannot take ballots outside. You also must vote at your assigned stations only. For more information, visit www.elections.ky. For any questions or complaints, then contact the Elections Office at 949-8047 or email office@elections.ky.
Not everything we encounter online is true, but we can combat false news by following these 3 simple steps. Step 1, check the source. Make sure the information comes from official websites or credible news outlets. Be careful of screenshots of articles that can be easily manipulated, and watch out for anonymous sources with no credibility. Step 2, read beyond the headline. Sometimes sensational headlines are designed to grab your attention while omitting key details just to get more shares on social media. Always read the full article before you decide to share it. And step 3, check if credible news agencies are confirming the story. If no reputable sources are reporting it, that's a red flag. Finally, before you share, ask yourself, does it sound too shocking to be true? Would I share it if I knew it wasn't real? False news spreads quickly, but you don't have to help it along. For more fact-checking tips, visit gov.ky/misinformation.
Not all news we receive is true. Sometimes we come across false or misleading content that hasn't been verified. This can happen unintentionally, resulting in misinformation, or it may be deliberate, which we call disinformation. You might wonder, why does misleading news spread so fast? The answer is simple. Sensational content gets more shares, and with social media, false information can spread faster than the truth. When information comes from family and friends, we're more likely to share it without checking if it's actually true. The consequences of misleading news are serious. It can lead to confusion and panic, cause harm to individuals and businesses, and even influence elections and policies, ultimately misleading the public. We can stop the spread of false news by reporting misinformation on social media platforms and taking these 3 quick steps. Step 1, pause and ask yourself, is this true? Step 2, check the source to see if it came from a reputable outlet or official website. Step 3, look for fact checks. Verify if credible sources have exposed the information as being false. Stay informed. Visit gov.ky/misinformation for more helpful tips. Do you support the decriminalization of the consumption and possession of small amounts of cannabis? A yes vote means you support removing criminal penalties for possession of small amounts. A no vote means you do not support decriminalization. Learn more at gov.ky/referendum. Should the Cayman Islands develop cruise berthing infrastructure? A yes vote means you support developing cruise berthing infrastructure. A no vote means you do not support the development of cruise berthing infrastructure. Learn more at gov.ky/referendum. Do you support the introduction of a national lottery in the islands?